In this video, we will be taking a look at the guy who claims how Doom The Dark Ages is bad because it's different from Doom 2016 and Doom Eternal. Now, this is a video that has been recommended to me a little while ago, so let's go take a look at it, shall we? The title of this video is Doom The Dark Ages. Okay, now I'm worried. Hashtag Doom, hashtag gaming. It comes from Trump Card Media Reviews. Now, if that title doesn't already give you next stage terminal cancer, then you are simply not human. And with a title and premise like this, if this dude is hoping for a good take, he will truly need to live up to his name and pull some insane Trump card, because right now, he is already falling in the same pitfall that the retards from r/Doom have been falling in for the past 6 or so years. So let's find out if he can truly expose this game or some shit.
Doom The Dark Ages is an upcoming game that's one of the very few pieces of media I've been looking forward to this year after the first trailer came out in 2024, and there's not a lot I'm looking forward to this year.
Oh my god, who the hell cares?
And starting it off strong with an irrelevant tangent about games he's not looking forward to. Oh, and you gotta love the Subway Surfers gif in the corner of the screen. So we're gonna do two things here. Firstly, summon the spirit of big man gamers, and secondly, get right to the relevant parts, so skip please.
But I really liked the Doom trailer a lot. You can go and watch my response at the time if you want. I got annoyed at the YouTuber Darkside Phil for being a tool about it.
Cool. You want a fucking cookie? DSP has a shit take, what a surprise. In other news, the grass is green and the floor is made out of lore.
He concluded that this new game would be terrible purely on the basis that the setting was a bit medieval. So I sat down to watch an over 10-minute video from the developers id that just came out about this new game, and it's left me with some real concerns. I like this a lot less than that original trailer. I say this because a lot of the reviews that they did about this new game, Doom The Dark Ages, look like they may be the exact opposite of what I wanted. It's a mix of some things I like the sound of, others that I don't, and some things that could be okay or could be terrible, depending on how they're implemented. That and the release of the PC specs that will be needed to run this thing, and I may just give it a miss altogether.
I love how we're pretending that pre-release specs are any indication of the specs needed to run the final game. I mean shit, Doom Eternal listed a 2060 as its pre-release recommended GPU. Come full release, and that went down to at most a 1060. 2 fucking generations difference. So taking that into account, as well as the fact we're talking about id Tech here, the single most optimized game engine in existence, it's not that hard to conclude that these specs will most certainly go down, even if not by much.
Because this game to me doesn't look as good as Doom 2016 does. Because this game to me doesn't look as good as Doom 2016 does.
You serious?
Yeah, okay, I think it's safe to say that this dude has lost sight in both eyes. Not only does it certainly look better, but the environments are also more varied than Doom 2016's, which are comprised of orange, red, and a single outlier blue level, which is the best looking one in the entire game, by the way. Which means that the art style is greatly improved as well. If you wanna say you prefer the look of 2016, that's one thing, but bitching up a storm about how the specs should be lower just because you think it looks worse is not only insanely retarded, but also insanely entitled.
Yet requires an Nvidia 3080 or better to run on recommended specs, and requires 4 times the RAM Doom 2016 did. Doom 2016 was really well optimised. This doesn't seem to be at all.
First of all, that b-roll is not helping your case in the slightest. Like, you may think it's just shit because I downloaded it like that, but no, his b-roll is just genuinely that fucking low quality. Second of all, the game is still pretty fucking far from release, and third of all, the levels and enemy counts are way higher than those in Doom 2016, so naturally the specs are going to be higher. Also, I find it hilarious how he's talking about optimization and using Doom 2016 as the benchmark, when SnapMap couldn't handle having more than 12 enemies present in a level at a given time. Yet you look at Doom the Dark Ages, and yeah, I count way more enemies on screen than that. But of course, he's just going to ignore that to push his bullshit narrative that the game is somehow less optimized than Doom 2016.
So I won't be pre-ordering this one, and I'll be waiting for reviews because I have serious concerns at this point. I'm going to be breaking their video down while I play Doom 2016 on Nightmare difficulty. I'm not going Ultra Nightmare, because if you get dropped once on that, it's game over, and the last twice I tried doing it, the first time the game crashed at the end of level 5, the game frequently crashes right at the end of level 5 when you get pulled into a hell portal.
Okay, this is not fucking serious right now. I mean, just ignoring how literally last sentence he was using 2016 as this benchmark of optimization. Now he's bitching that the game crashes when you have a shit PC. Like, dude, if you can't even run Doom 2016, then I pray you never discover GZ Doom. That shit can't even get a consistent 60 FPS on a 2080 Ti. Port of a 30-year-old game, by the way. Like, seriously, dude. If your PC is that fucking dog shit, then I would hope you're not buying Doom the Dark Ages, because not even id Tech can fucking save you there. But then again, if you're not able to run Doom 2016, let alone Doom the Dark Ages, why the fuck are you even talking about it in the first place when you could never run it to begin with? At that point, your input is just completely fucking irrelevant because, well, you're not able to play the game at all. And it's as simple as that.
In the game, and then maybe half the time the game crashes. And then I have to restart, and then the next time I try it, Doom Guy clipped through a floor on level 2 and plummeted clear off the map. Granted, the environments in this new game are looking really nice, but they're not looking 4 times the system requirements required to run it nice. I'm liking the new enemy designs and the new design for the Doomslayer, but I care a lot more about gameplay than I do ray tracing. Maybe the most worrying thing for me was the reveal of difficulty sliders.
Oh no guys, here we go again. That the book cages is shitty work, because it has difficulty selections, you know, just like every fucking game in the series. I mean, you really gotta love how he was bitching just a second ago how he doesn't want to play on the hardest difficulty in Doom 2016, but now he's bitching how Doom the Dark Ages also gives you difficulty options in the very next sentence. You honestly have to try to be this fucking pathetic. This right here is the perfect example of just looking for a reason to bitch.
Because that tends to mean to me a diminished and less polished gameplay experience. Because Doom 2016 had really only 4 difficulty settings. Ultra Nightmare was just Nightmare and Iron Man mode really, so no saves. The devs had to optimise 4 difficulties for that game, and the game was polished but still had bugs.
Yeah, if you call adjusting sliders to be polishing the difficulty selections, then I'm Santa Claus. Damn, it's almost like that's exactly what the difficulties are. Just preset sliders for aggression, damage and other shit, which now you can fine tune however you like. And guess what? If you don't want to touch them, you don't have to. It's completely optional, so where is the problem?
What is the problem?
This game looks like it's going to have to optimise hundreds of possible difficulties. There are 8 sliders allowing for things like customised player damage, enemy damage, the speed of enemy projectiles and the total game speed. If each slider has, by the look of it, maybe 10 positions, that's something like 8 to the power of 10 possible settings, and they couldn't even manage a flawless game when they were trying with 4.
Okay, yeah, I think it's confirmed at this point that this dude is just genuinely fucking retarded, since he unironically thinks the concept of a perfect game is something that exists. Also, the difficulty sliders are this fucking optimization you keep talking about. You can configure them to get the experience you want in a single player game, and if you don't want to touch them and just go with the default difficulties, then don't touch them, and it will be as if they never existed. So I ask again, where is the problem?
What is the problem?
It looks like this game's lower difficulty will be essentially games journalist mode. For me, who really like Doom 2016, this game looks glacially slow.
The first difficulties in all older Doom games were also just game journalist mode. That's number 1. And number 2, if you don't think the game is fast enough, there's a slider for that. Wow, dude, it's almost like that's the entire fucking reason they exist in the first place. Literally the perfect example of just looking for a reason to bitch.
It's like a snail on downers. It even still looks slow on the highest possible speed settings.
And case in point right here. No, with the highest speed setting, it is very notably faster than Doom 2016, and coupled with the shield dash mechanic, it is very obvious that this dude is just talking straight out of his ass.
Just look at the speed of these enemy ranged attacks. That's ridiculous. I could be half asleep and sedated and still dodge that. This is shocking, and I can only guess this is meant for the likes of games journalist Dean Takahashi, who tried to play the game Cuphead and famously couldn't get through the game's tutorial.
Then don't play on the lowest settings. Literally everything he mentioned so far is entirely on the player if they deliberately choose to play in the way they don't find fun. This is literally the same energy as when Under The Mayo played Ultrakill with only the starter pistol, only to bitch that the tutorial is too easy, creating artificial problems to get some imaginary gacha against the game, and it's just endlessly fucking pathetic.
He also had trouble with the basic game mechanics in Doom Eternal, so how can journalists give a workable review of a game if they can't even get through the tutorial? There are a worrying number of signs that the focus in Doom the Dark Ages will not be on the gameplay, including the giant mech fights and the dragon. As cool as they are, they're just more signals that the focus in this game is in entirely the wrong place.
What?
So he says how they're not focusing on gameplay before explaining how they're focusing on gameplay. Like, you honestly cannot make this shit up.
In their video, id describe Doom the Dark Ages like this.
In Doom Eternal, you felt like a fighter jet. In Doom the Dark Ages, you'll be an iron tank.
I'm interested in them bringing strafing back into the game as a viable tactic, instead of the run and gun from Doom 2016. In some ways, that's going right back to before Doom 2016, and way back to the original Doom 1 and 2. And lots of elements of this game seem to be like that. They seem to have gone away from the tuned challenge arenas of Doom 2016, and into more open world sandbox, and I'm not keen on that. There also seems to be a big emphasis put on secrets and exploration, which is also very Doom 1 and 2. One problem with the idea of strafing may be what they've done to the enemy AI in order to make that work, because the enemies don't seem to be flanking like they did in Doom 2016. Their tactics seem extremely rudimentary in comparison in these gameplay videos, and it looks like the game relies on hordes of less intelligent enemies instead of having a fewer challenging ones.
Which, funnily enough, is exactly how this worked in classic Doom games. The enemy AI in those games is insanely primitive, yet despite this, there are countless custom bots that are way more difficult than anything Doom Eternal can throw at you. Just look at shit like Magnolia and Sunder. This just goes to show that simple enemies can be just as difficult when used right, and complex enemies can be mind-numbingly easy when used wrong. That's number one. And number two, there are more complex, bigger enemies in Doom the Dark Ages, as clearly shown, so in reality, you'll have a blend of both. So once again, he's just ignoring shit that doesn't fit his narrative.
Doom the Dark Ages is coming out supposedly May the 15th of 2025, and that I do like. I kind of prefer smaller gaps in between sequels than we've been getting. It's now 5 years since Doom Eternal, and I'd like smaller gaps even than that. Even if it means reusing assets. There's no need to completely reinvent the wheel every single time.
No shit there isn't. However, that is not the approach they want to take with the sequels, as they clearly explained that they want each game to have its own unique draw to it. Otherwise you get a situation like Doom 1 and Doom 2, where Doom 2 is Doom 1 but better in every aspect, and as such you have no reason to play Doom 1 other than for the stock levels. And I'd say that having a sequel which doesn't nullify the previous game is way better than that. After all, they can't hope to compete with Doom 2, so it's the only viable choice they have.
But frankly, I don't want to be too harsh on it on this occasion, considering the minimum 15-year wait for a Fallout sequel, or the supposed 15-year wait for a Skyrim sequel.
And here he goes rambling about pointless shit for I don't know what time again. Now, I would say that I wonder what else he's going to pull out of his ass to bitch about, but in reality, I really don't. So I'm gonna end it off here. So I guess the moral of the story here is, Doom the Dark Ages bad because it's opposite day. Yeah. So once again, Doom the Dark Ages bad Reddit-esque argument falls completely flat on its face. Truly a shocker, am I right? Let's face it, we all saw this coming, but I would lie if I said it wasn't entertaining, so I hope you enjoyed it as well. Be sure to like and subscribe to boost me in the algorithm. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.